We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
Okay, thanks, Marisol. Good morning, everybody. That was great music. I hated for you to end it so we could start the gathering. That was wonderful. First, what we do first is we're going to, Marisol's going to play our opening song, and we're going to greet one another on the board. Maybe want to say where you are and what the weather's like, but at any rate, this is how we traditionally start. Marisol, if you will, please. Thank you, Marisol. Fun to see your all's comments. What I'll do now is I will share with you Awakening Together statement of purpose. We're an assembly of equals, joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. And as you know, we pick a core value that will be reflected in the homily. And the one that I've picked this morning, I pick often. I'm still working on it. It's core value number 3. We accept one true self, which is one presence or being, non-dual, without beginning or end, and absolutely changeless. We live this value by practicing letting go of the belief in the individual self as who we are. Then I will do announcements. And I will invite Kelly to make the first announcement. And now we will have our opening song. Marisol? Sweet video. Thank you, Marisol. Now we'll have our invocation or prayer. If you will, join me in prayer. Father, thank you for the opportunity to teach what I would learn. I'm willing to surrender this time to you and all time to you. I acknowledge that the mind wants me to know something and wants me to impart some superior wisdom to those who are listening. I'm willing to let that go. Help us to sink into the emptiness that always presents itself. Help us to learn that this is how we intuit the flow. Guide us where you would have us go. Help us understand our true nature. Thank you for the blessing of this gathering. Thank you for your continuous flow of love. We are here to be servants unto you. Amen. And Connie's going to read for us, but before she does, let me just tell you all that if I can speak, maybe I should just let her read because I'm having a hard time speaking. I just want to let you all know that I'm nervous, and I'm nervous because the mind screams, "You're unprepared. What the hell are you doing? Why didn't you spend all week, figuring this out and typing out each word?" And that didn't happen. And so as we go through this morning, This is real-time action here. Real-time effortless action. Uh, and I do surrender to that. And I thank you for your indulgence and your participation in that. Thank you so much. And Connie, I will turn this over to you to read chapters 43, 63, and 64 from the Tao Te Ching, an interpretive translation to live by Regina Dawn Akers. Lao Tzu and Regina Dawn Akers. All right, Connie, go ahead. You are okay. There you go.
Okay. Chapter 43, Effortless Action. The most flexible things in the world advance through the firmest things in the world. The formless enters where there is no opening. Therefore, I am aware of the benefits of effortless action. Teaching without words and the advantage of effortless action are rarely realized in the world. Chapter 63, Effortless Work. Effortless action is to work without working. It is to taste the tasteless, to be moved by the way. Regard the big as small and the many as few. Always respond to hostility with kindness. When faced with something difficult, plan simple steps to address it. When attending to something big, break it down into smaller parts. The world's problems must be worked out with simple, achievable solutions. The world's greatest achievements come about through small accomplishments. Therefore, the sage never intends to do anything great and yet accomplishes greatness. You cannot trust people who make big promises heedlessly. Those who take things too lightly eventually face big problems. Therefore, the sage gives every task the attention that it is owed to difficult tasks, and in this way, nothing is ever difficult. Chapter 64, Keep It Easy. It is easy to hold things that are calm and still. It's easier to plan before things go wrong. If it's brittle, it breaks easily. If it's tiny, it scatters easily. Act before problems develop. Govern before there is chaos. A tree you can barely wrap your arms around grows from a tiny seed. A 9-story tower is built beginning with 1 brick. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with 1 step. One who tries to control fails. One who grasps loses. Sages don't try to control and therefore don't fail. They don't grasp and therefore don't lose. People frequently feel done when a project is near its end, and that's when it fails. Be as careful near the end as in the beginning, and it won't fail. How do sages keep life easy? They desire to have no desires. They don't covet rare or expensive goods. They learn how to unlearn and return to the condition the masses pass through. They serve all things by letting them be as they are, and they dare not try to control anything. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Connie. So we're here to we're here to discuss Wu Wei, effortless action. What comes to the mind to be said is what I found as I really looked into this concept was that is it's often a paradox, and as I say it now, I'm like, yeah, you think effortless action. um, but it's a foundation of the Tao Te Ching, and I want to explore with you what it looks like, how we do it, what gets in the way of doing it again, effortless action, and how to use it. And I will tell you that when I when I woke up this morning, I didn't have those 4 categories. When I woke up this morning, I went, "Oh my God, you got to talk in like 3 hours. What are you going to do?" I spent a little bit of time with it this week. I watched some videos that help inform my thinking about it, my understanding of it. And we'll see what comes through. As you probably know, I have been working on rewriting the MPP course. I think it's called Introduction to the Tao Te Ching, but on the Tao Te Ching, to incorporate Regina's new translation of the Tao Te Ching. And formerly in that course, we used Stephen Mitchell's version of the Tao Te Ching. So, we wanted to change it to use Regina's instead. So I've spent quite a bit of time with the Tao Te Ching, but it's going along well. But it's interesting. I don't feel like until this past week, until I really settled down into what is this whole effortless action thing about, that I got a deep sense of what was being said. I will also tell you that I have been praying lately for the ability, if you will, to move beyond concepts into experience. And I believe that this homily, this opportunity to do this homily, is an answer to those prayers. So let's talk about what effortless action is. You might think that effortless action, or I thought maybe effortless action was referring to not doing, and we often hear about that, right? The non-doer, and we talk about emptiness and stillness, and that might give the impression that we're talking about not doing. But that's really not what's being said. What's really being said is, what's really being talked about is a way of being, a state of being. It's been described as a stillness of mind combined with action. So it's a place that we operate from. And as I looked at this morning, I wrote down some thoughts about it. And I wrote that it was a state of grace. And it's interesting the connotations that words have. And we'll talk a little bit about what gets in the way of of operating from this state. And grace sounds like something that has to be bestowed because I'm good, right? In this mind, it does. But this state of grace is something that doesn't have to be achieved. The idea of grace is that it's an existing state of being. It's there already. And in this existing state of being, and that this already here-ness is intuitive intelligence. This is an intelligence beyond the thinking mind. And it's difficult to see if we're in our thinking mind, because mind says there's nothing beyond this, and buddy, you better know what you're talking about, because you got to get up there and talk in front of all these people and da-da-da, right? And that's one of the obstacles, of course. But there is a state of being. There is a state of grace. There is an intelligence that exists before and beyond the thinking mind. So it's from this state, this natural way of being, that we experience effortless action. In this state, we often talk about it as being in the flow or with the flow, intuiting the flow and acting from there. And again, for me, a lot of these things become concepts. Ooh, there's a flow. How do I get in it? And but it's something we settle into. We often call it. Well, we might recognize it as spontaneity, acting spontaneously. What do we do when we act spontaneously? We act without thought. There is a man called the Father of the Flow. His name is Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. And he described it this way: an intense and focused concentration on the present moment, loss of reflective self-consciousness, I left part of it out, a merging of action. Sorry, notifications. I don't know how to turn those off. Action and intention, and an altered sense of tone. And then I found this beautiful definition. So what I'm describing now is the flow state. So it's also considered the flow state. Let me read this to you. When the poet becomes the poem, the driver the drive, and the painter the painting, that's the flow state. It's when trying has ceased and the conscious desire for optimal performance or outcome has waned. It's when the mind has stopped telling you what, if, why, when, and even how. It's when, as Taoist philosopher Zungazi, I didn't look up how to pronounce that. It's when, as Taoist philosopher Zungazi stated, perception and understanding have come to a stop, and spirit moves where it wants. But I love that when the poet becomes the poem, the driver the drive, and the painter the painting. That's the flow state. And I got to tell you, when I began to look at this past week, I was, oh, the flow state. Well, of course. I hadn't put that together. I really hadn't. we've certainly all seen it demonstrated in athletes and artists. We saw it demonstrated beautifully when Rhoda gave the keynote speech for Norma Clark's ordination. And she talked to us, or to me that day, about sitting down with a pencil going, okay, I got to write something, and hearing, bye, Mary, and hearing very clearly, just put the pen down, and just say what comes. I myself had this week had an experience of effortless action. I was asked to prepare and deliver a eulogy for my aunt who had died about a year ago, and then my cousin, her daughter, just recently passed away. And in preparing for this, I've never done a eulogy. I asked Regina, isn't there something on funerals and being an Awakening Together minister? And I never did go look at that. But I had some sense of it from having taken that course. That you talk to the loved ones who were close to the deceased, and so I did some of that in chatting in text messages, and we had a meeting with Brian, my Aunt Dolores' grandson. We did some text messages, and I talked a little bit about the kind of music that they liked and those sorts of things, and then but I really didn't have any sense of where this might go. And I'll tell you what was really absent for me was concern about the outcome. I just somehow knew that this would be what it was. And it's interestingly, reflecting on it now, I didn't go and I didn't have concerns about whether I would find what I needed, whether I would be fed what I needed. Like guidance, you better not abandon me now, and I have done that, in the past, but there was none of that here. I just sat down to prepare the eulogy, and it occurred to me, not because I was thinking, what could I do? It occurred to me, well, go look at Aunt Dolores' Facebook page. And there were beautiful reflections of who she was. There was even a poem called "Miss Me But Let Me Go" that she posted the summer before she passed, which was beautiful for to end the ceremony with that. And Brian mentioned a favorite song of Aunt Dolores and a favorite song of his mother, Bambi. And just right before the ceremony, it occurred to me, well, why don't you play those two favorite songs at the end? But everything came as it was supposed to come. There was not a focus on, okay, here's the overall picture. And the ceremony basically wrote itself. and the elements came as the elements needed to come, step by step. It was a beautiful tribute to those who had passed. So let's talk about how we achieve effortless action. How do we do it? And what I'm finding is that trust is essential. It's an essential component of this. Preparing for this, one of the stories that occurred to me was the one of the farmer that plants his crops and then goes out and digs them up to make sure that they're growing. You take the actions that need to be taken. He plants the seeds, he waters the seeds, and then he trusts nature to unfold as it does. He trusts nature to take care of everything, which it does. The Tao takes care of everything. The Tao takes care of everything without interference. So I have to trust that everything will flow as needed. And so part of trust is to take these small steps we heard about in chapter 64. It's interesting. There's so much paradox in this, but so we have an idea of the end result. So let me just stop for a second. And I keep hearing this, so let me say that part of what led me to this topic was the fact that I am rewriting this Tao course. And when I started writing it, I had Regina's, she has done videos up through chapter like 25. Well, then those chapters stopped. So those videos stopped. So when I got to chapter 25, buddy, I was on my own, I thought, right? So I had to trust. I had to trust in that intuitive intelligence beyond the thinking mind. And I noticed that as I was writing this course, that some days were really easy. Some days, I could do several chapters a day, and some days I would look at it and go, "Oh my God, what does this mean? How am I supposed to write the answers, right? And put them in this facilitator's guide? How is this even done?" And so, let me go back to how is it done? We've talked about trust. We've talked about the small steps. So in the small steps, there's an awareness of the end result. I'm going to have a facilitator's guide right here in a participant's workbook. So I'm aware of the end results. There's no emphasis on the quality of the result or the outcome. So, is this going to be as good as Regina did? Oh, people will be able to tell past chapter 25 that it was all you, Jacquelyn. I mean, all of these thoughts of the mind, right? How am I going to show up? Spiritual curriculum director? Who are you kidding? Small steps. let's be with this chapter. Let's look at what this chapter has to say. And in fact, as I worked on chapter 64, I broke it down, into line or a pair of lines, and looked at each of those. And wrote about each of those. And then let that go and just wrote, an interpretation of Regina's interpretation. Maybe we'll look at that when we're done. But let me this. Chapter 64 says, a tree you can barely wrap your arms around grows from a tiny seed. A 9-story tower is built beginning with one brick. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Small steps, small steps. And how do sages keep life easy? They desire to have no desires. They don't covet rare or expensive goods. They learn how to unlearn and return to the condition the masses pass through. The same with chapter 63. The sage never intends to do anything great. These are all focuses on the end result. What do I desire? I desire to be the one that wrote a really great Dao Ching course. I desire to be the one who shows up on Sunday and says brilliant stuff. All that has to be let go. What's the task in front of me now? Another essential ingredient is softness. Softness has been hard for me to learn. My cousin Mark is visiting. Came in for the celebration of life, and talked about memories of when we were growing up. And I'm pretty sure that in our little group, I was always the one in charge. This is how we're going to do it. And as you all know, I was a judge and I was in charge. This is how we're going to do it. And I remember Regina telling me when we were working on getting the retreat house together and, hanging pictures and buying things, and I wanted to be the one in charge. This is how we're going to do it. So softness didn't seem natural. Softness is something that I am cultivating. The softness comes from being in this moment with this task. The softness comes from allowing things to unfold as they'll unfold, without needing to force things, without needing a desired result. This has got to look right. The softness comes from the trust in the way things are, from the trust in the intuitive intelligence before thinking mind, beyond thinking mind. The softness and the trust go hand in hand. I'm not in charge, and I don't need to be in charge. I don't need a specific result. My happiness does not lie in achieving a specific result. My happiness lies in showing up, doing what's mine to be done. What's also required is a familiarity with the state of emptiness, a familiarity of operating in the state of being beyond mind. So funny how all these things are entwined, because that's where our trust comes from, right? It comes from practicing these moments of saying, I don't know and I don't need to know, of taking the small steps, of doing the next thing that needs to be done without going, well, how's it going to turn out? Without pulling up my plants to see if they're growing, right? This familiarity with the state of emptiness requires practice. There's our paradox again. I'm practicing to be effortless. I'm practicing effortless action. I'm practicing being empty. I can do this through meditation. Some of the literature suggested you can do it through routines. You can do it through engaging in a sport that requires your attention without using the thinking mind. And I appreciate that. I really appreciate it. It's like, no, you got to meditate 12 hours a day. Well, that's helpful. But we can practice being empty. We can practice the small steps. You can practice ordering off a menu by just looking down and seeing what pops out at you. You can practice by looking in your closet and just seeing what to wear for the day. We practice relying on the intuitive intelligence beyond thinking mind. We practice letting it be. It's funny too, because when you read the Tao, you're like, the sage is empty, and it sounds like an accomplished state. And how do we get to this accomplished state? One small step at a time, by practicing it in our daily lives, by practicing it when we have the opportunity, by spending time in that state of emptiness. Meditate for 10 minutes. Journal. See what comes from beyond the thinking mind. And what does this do? It builds trust. It builds trust that there is something beyond the thinking mind. That we don't have to turn to the thinking mind when a problem comes up. That we don't have to turn to the thinking mind to order our day. And we don't know that unless we practice it, unless we give it a go. We have to find our own ways to create opportunities to go beyond the thinking mind. The opportunities are myriad, right? That's called life. But we have to take those opportunities. It's what Inner Ramana said, right? What would you have me do now? How would you have me see this? What would you have me say? How would you have me respond? We have to turn to the intuitive intelligence behind the thinking mind, beyond the thinking mind. So let's talk about what gets in the way. Well, a big one for me, and I suspect for some of you, is the I am bad belief. As I sit here, I realize that this is part of the concepts. I'm sure there's an inherent intelligence behind everything. I'm sure that nature has a flow, and that all I need to do is find it. Right, I'm back in concepts. But hey, I'm bad. There might be a flow for Regina. There might be a flow for Angelo DeLulo. Name who you will, right? Whatever sage or master you would point to, but not for Jacquelyn. Not for this one. I better study. I better look at everything ever written on the subject, and I better write it out word for word. Because I don't have access. I mean, those are the thoughts. That's certainly what the thinking mind was screaming when I woke up this morning, and screaming as we started this homily. I just heard, and that's bullshit. It is. It's just another thought. It's a concept of who I am. So I'm still turning to concepts. It's a concept of who I am that needs to be let go. And again, practicing relying on intuitive intelligence helps me see that it's a lie. I do have access. Look at this journal. I do have access. I couldn't have written this stuff with the thinking mind. I couldn't have planned that eulogy with the thinking mind. That intelligence is there. I can trust in that. A counterpart to I am bad is I have to earn it. Well, maybe if I'm really, really good, I will be bestowed with the grace of it's there all the time. It's there, it says the saying, the sun shines on the good and the bad alike. I don't have to earn this. It's there. It's a force of nature. It's the force of nature. If I was bad yesterday, does that mean I don't have access to the all that is, to the intuitive intelligence that runs everything, that takes care of everything today? It doesn't depend on my goodness or my badness. It's there. It's accessible. All I have to do is trust that. So what else gets in the way? Overthinking, right? Not trusting. And when I made that note, I noted that I was thinking of my golf game. A couple of weeks ago, I said it had gone to hell, and one of the reasons it's gone to hell is because I don't know, I had a bad day or a bad shot or whatever, and so I was overthinking it. Well, I need to turn this hand this way. I need to hold this shoulder up, and I need to, and you get yourself all wrapped up in knots. And there's just way too much going on up here to experience my authentic swing. So it's the same thing in anything that we do. If we rely on the thinking mind, we haven't made the space. We haven't made space become empty. And if it's, we need to make room for our awareness to rest on the emptiness that is here now. One of the things that gets us reliant on the thinking mind is this desire for, probably the primary thing, is this desire for or fear of specific outcomes. Just swing the club. Just give the eulogy. Just show up and see what wants to be said. The other thing I've written down here is what gets in the way is distraction. And again, this is about practicing emptiness. I can play on my phone all day. I can try and do 20 things at once. And what the Tao tells us is to focus on this task. When faced with something difficult, plan simple steps to address it. When attending to something big, break it down into smaller parts. This discrete task. It's like Billy's unmuted. What did, hang on, let me see if I can find it. Intense and focused concentration on the present moment. This task without distraction. This task without trying to see the larger task. This task about trying to figure out what it will say about me, what the outcome is, what it says about me, what, where it's going, this task. Focus, concentrated attention on every small task. Those at the beginning as well as those at the end. So the question is, okay, great. Next question I have here, how do we use it? So, as we talked about in the paradox, it's not like you don't go look up what others have said about the flow. It's not like you don't take golf lessons or instruction from a coach. It's not like you can't gather information. Then you put that information aside. In golf, we take a practice swing. And so in my practice swing, I might be thinking, well, turn my shoulder under my chin and keep my right knee planted square, turn around my right knee and swing through with my hips. Actually, it's really clear you can only have like 3 swing thoughts, right? More than that is that too much. But you do that on your practice swing, and then you step up to the ball and hit it. I'm not thinking those same thoughts when I'm actually hitting the ball. I'm trusting that knowledge is there without me having to think about it. It's trust in that intuitive intelligence. So what I'd like to end this message with is the facilitator's guide's answers. Answers, right? To chapters 43, 63, and 64. Self-will is always trying to figure things out, trying to manipulate, control, get things, or avoid things. Emptiness is much more spontaneous. Speaking happens, doing happens, but it doesn't have the root cause behind it of trying to get or avoid for self-will. If there's only the Tao, nothing needs to be controlled. The solution to problems does not come by taking action from our ideas of how to correct things. Effortless action, or emptiness, is accepting things as they are, realizing all is well, and trusting the universe as it unfolds. The sage who practices effortless action intuits the flow of the Tao and moves in harmony with it. Chapter 63. The non-action of the Tao does not necessarily mean non-action in the world. In fact, one centered in the non-action of the Tao may appear very busy. Non-action refers to the inner state. That one does not desire, does not avoid, is not attached to outcomes, and does not manipulate or control. That one lives in the harmony of the Tao, in acceptance of all that is, without plans or defenses. That one faces what is before her in tune with the Tao. No task is ever too small to receive full attentiveness. That one trusts that through the Tao, all they are asked to do will be done. Not needing to see the bigger plan, not having an agenda or any desire for things to be different than what is given. Each task is given the same peaceful attention. No task is ever put off through avoidance or procrastination. No challenge is ever so big that it can't be given peaceful attention, one small task at a time. The reason for doing is because it's here to be done. There's never seeking a reward or credit. One who moves in tune with the Tao finds all work effortless. Chapter 64. The sage approaches tasks and challenges with a focus on what is present and immediate, rather than getting entangled in concerns about future outcomes, potential complications. This perspective teaches us to see each moment and each task as it is, without the burden of expectations or the need to control the future. By attending carefully to what is before us, whether it's planting a seed or beginning a project, we nurture the whole without needing to understand or predict every step along the way. The sage's way of being reminds us that attempting to control the future or foresee the end result can lead to failure, as it distracts from the present action that requires our full attention. Instead, by releasing the need to know how things will turn out, we align ourselves with the natural flow of the Tao, allowing each step to unfold as it should. This teaches us the importance of patience, presence, and trust in the process, knowing that whatever arises will be met with the same care and attention, whether the outcome is what we expected or something entirely different. By embracing this approach, we learn that the true essence of any task lies not in its completion, but in the quality of attention and care we give to each moment of its unfolding. This is how the sage keeps life easy, by not overcomplicating it with unnecessary desires, expectations, or attempts to control, and instead allowing things to be as they are and to reveal their true nature in time. So I think that's all I've got. As I was reading that, Marisol, I realized somewhere I think I skipped 2 songs. But, and they were good songs, but there you go. Here you go, by Pink, on Amazon Music. Alexa, stop. She thought I asked her for a song. That would have been a good one, I guess. Anyway, we have very little bit of time left. Obviously, if you want to discuss this, we can do that in the fellowship half hour we have. But I will invite anybody to speak who'd like to do that at this time. She was going to play "There You Go" by Pink, Regina. Marisol, maybe we'll play that song, the second song, I guess, yeah. Thank you. Okay, Marisol, we are over time, so I'm turning it back over to you.
You've been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.